We are
live
from our Vancouver shop with A and B. And we're going to give it a little bit of time for people to join us, because we've got a very nice class for you today. We're going to riff off each other a little bit. AK's prepared all sorts of stuff, and we're going to do some initial things that that you might want to know about the Alinker. So let's give it a few more minutes. Welcome to everybody. Hello, Laura, Kathleen, Valerie, Lumaro. Let's give it a little bit more time. It is exactly 3 o'clock right now. So we're going to do a few more minutes and then we start. But start feeling into your body a little bit. Start shaking up, shaking loose a little bit.
Move around.
Before we start officially with the class, just move around, feel where your body is at today. Whew. I'm feeling a little bit uptight today.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why, but I'm feeling a little bit uptight. But I'm looking forward to the class, AK.
As am I.
Okay, we've got quite some people that joined here. Hello, everyone. Okay, so what we like to start with is for people that are new to the Alinker, that have the Alinker just unpacked. There's a lot of people that bought the Alinker in the last month, and they might have it at home. You might have it at home right now. It's like, oh my God, it's a little bit uncomfortable. How does that work? So let us take you through the very first steps. Once you've got it all assembled, how to do that right. So what you notice is that the seat is a little bit tilted up. The nose of the seat is a little bit pointed up. And you want that. It's different than a bike. Because you want to sit with your sit bones on the back of the seat. And if you can get on, AK, from without swinging your leg, stand behind it. And then you walk on, yes. So with your sit bones, you sit on the back of the seat. So your pelvis is tilted back. So your lower back is relaxed. You sort of lean into your lower back. You feel that?
Yeah. Like you're sitting back, not forward, which
Yes.
is different from when you're on a bicycle where you feel like you're forward. Here, you're sitting more into your sit bones and bum.
Yes. And there is a specific benefit on when you exert pressure on your sit bones as you sit on the seat that way. It sort of opens up your spine as a highway of information to your brain. And that is really important because if you activate your brain is able to work as it likes to work. So sit on the back of the seat, tilt your pelvis back, relax your lower back, and really just lean into your upper body.
You might also notice in this position that you won't have as much of a curve in your spine, and your ribs won't come flared out, so that allows your lower back to be more relaxed and your core to engage a little bit easier as well when you're moving around the world or doing a class with us.
And on the seat height, your legs need to have quite a bend so you can actually, once you start striding, make a full stride. So don't sit too high, don't have the seat too high. It has to feel slightly lower than you think you should be. And then you've got the possibility to have a full stride. So that's for the newbies amongst the Alinker users. And then we can start the class.
All right, we're just going to reposition ourselves a little bit here so you can see us. B.
Go to this way.
Is that
Better in the picture, there we go.
okay? Perfect. All right, well, welcome to our Alinker movement class today. So today's focus is going to be on checking in with our body to start, seeing if any discomfort is happening in your body that you haven't taken a moment to slow down and be aware of, or if there's any good feelings coming up, lack of pain, minimal, lower pain than usual. Followed by, we'll be doing a warm-up and body awareness exercise, and then doing some stretching and strengthening for our hip flexors, which are really important for striding and moving with the Alinker. So, starting with our body check-in. I like to close my eyes. I like to sometimes put my hands on my thighs, or one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. Whatever you're feeling most comfortable with, please do that. So closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. I'm taking some deep breaths in through the nose, filling up the belly, and slowly out through the mouth. Take a few deep breaths to begin. And then as your breath hopefully becomes a little more rhythmic, you're going to check in with your body and see if there's anything that you're noticing right now come up. Any pain, any discomfort, soreness, just a strange feeling, a good feeling. I like to do an exercise that is like filling your body up with water from your toes all the way to the top of your head. So if you can picture it in your mind, like a jug of water over your head being poured into your body. So it's starting to fill up at your toes, and as the water fills up, you're checking in with that part of your body to see, am I feeling anything in my toes? And then it fills up, through your arches and your feet. Is there anything coming up that I need to check in on about my feet? And as we go on, you continue to check on those body parts. So the water rises above your ankles, through up to your shins and calves, into your knees slowly, and then above your knees, up to your mid-thigh, to your quads and your hamstrings. Keeps filling up to your hip level, so your hips and your hip flexors, your glutes and your femur, all the way. It fills through your pelvis, checking in, anything coming up, pain or discomfort, and continues past your belly button, filling to your rib cage. Keep breathing, noticing, and then up to your armpits where it spills over to your fingertips. And then the water fills up through your fingers, your knuckles, your hands and thumbs, through your wrists, up your forearms, into your elbows, through your biceps and upper arms, all the way through your shoulders. Now it's touching your collarbone, through your traps and the lower part of your neck, up into your chin, your skull, earlobes, mouth, nose, eyes, and finally all the way up to the tallest point of your body, the tip of your head. Now let's sit for a moment and absorb that, or sit with any of the feelings that are coming up in your body, good or bad, and acknowledging any of those things for yourself. Let's take 3 more deep breaths together, in through your nose and out through your mouth, nice and slow. Again, in through your nose and exhale. And one more time, in through your nose and exhale. When you're ready, opening your eyes, moving your body in any way that's feeling right or feeling needed right now. So again, checking in with yourself, doing what your body needs. Either wake up or be present in this space or take care of yourself. Anything to add for a body check-in, B?
No, I like that.
Yeah.
It makes me relax.
That's great. Okay, so we're gonna do our warm-up to begin. So if you're seated on your Alinker, we're gonna start with stretching our hip flexors. So the pockets of your hips on the very front, so they're below your belly, but above your thighs, okay? So right in that pocket where the leg meets the hip. So the first thing you're going to do with your right leg, you're going to step back as far as you can. You're going to be on the ball of your foot or the toes. With your other leg, you can step forward a couple inches, and you're going to push your hips forward so that you're leaning into this pocket and you're feeling a stretch. You might have to squeeze your right glute or butt cheek a little bit to feel that stretch, or even take a small few steps forward or a few inches forward with your Alinker. This part. So right now, my back foot, I know you can't see it very well if I move forward a little bit. I'm on my toes, stretching forward. My back knee has a slight bend in it, and my front foot, slight bend in the knee, is forward.
What does that do when you open up your femur?
So we're opening up through the hip flexor, and that's going to allow you to have a greater stride, as well as stretching this muscle that's going to be used, or these muscle group that's going to be used when you're striding, when you're taking steps on your Alinker. And noticing when you're stretching or doing any of these movements, if things come up in other parts of your body. You might feel relief, you might feel some emotions, you might feel clarity in your mind, right? Because all these things are connected, and your movement is going to provide, neurofeedback in your brain. Okay, relaxing our right leg. We're going to switch to the other side now. So left leg comes back. We're taking the biggest step back we can. And again, if that's feeling difficult, you can move a little bit forward with your Alinker so that your foot remains in one spot and you feel an additional stretch or more of a stretch in your hip flexor. You might also do what B's doing, which is moving forward and back. So providing a little extra stretch as you come forward, coming out of that, relaxing, and then bringing that stretch again into the hip flexor.
What you don't want to do is tilt your pelvis forward as you stretch your back leg. I tend to do it, I notice that myself, I stretch forward, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. You keep your pelvis tilted back so your lower back is relaxed, and then try to, it's not about putting it really far back, it's just getting a little bit tension on your femur to stretch it up a bit.
Yeah, same thing with your upper body, you don't need to lean forward, so staying in that seated position, neutral pelvis, and back is perfect. Anything else to add for the hip flexor stretch?
I think it's interesting now, the small movements give a big feeling. Like it's not about making big movements or big exercises, it's like the small movements in awareness.
Yeah.
Create a lot of stir in your body.
And I'm noticing now I've been squeezing my quad, so my thigh muscle, in tandem with doing that, which I don't necessarily want to do. So noticing sometimes what is happening as a result of a movement, right? So we're trying to stretch our hip flexors, but our body might do something as a result that we're not intending. So for me, right now, it's squeezing my thigh really tight, and I want to try and relax that. Ready for our next stretch? Okay, so hip flexors is a muscle group that's on the top of your thigh and it's connecting your pelvis and your leg. We also have adductors, which are your inner thigh, adductors and abductors. Okay, so they allow your leg to go in and out. We're going to stretch that a little bit by now extending our leg to the side. So this isn't a movement you're necessarily going to do on the Alinker, but it's a stretch you can do while you're moving, and it's going to be beneficial to supporting your legs in movement, right? So stretching different muscle groups to allow you to continue to move easily and freely. So for this one, I'm extending my right leg right now as far as I can away from the bike and the Alinker, or my body. When I said bike, I meant body. And feeling, hopefully, a small stretch in your inner thigh. And then doing the same thing on the other side. Left leg extends out. Right leg is in the neutral position when you're on the Alinker, so standing position. And again, noticing what comes up in the rest of your body. Are you squeezing your glute? Are you holding on, gripping the handlebars? Are your shoulders coming up? Can we relax the rest of the body and lean into the stretch? Good. Okay. The next one we're going to do are hip circles. So we're going to work on moving our leg in a circular fashion, which is going to call on, again, our adductors and hip flexors to bring the knee up, out, down, and around. This is great for range of motion, so your hip and your leg being able to move in a greater range, so bigger circles, for example. So right now we're trying to move them in the biggest circle possible. And we're going clockwise. That took a second.
What is it called?
And let's try doing the same thing counterclockwise now. So big circles, but we're moving down, out, and in. And you're probably going to start to feel this in those small muscles on your inner thigh, on the top of your thigh, okay, your adductors and hip flexors. Mine are getting quite tired. So let's switch to the other leg. So same thing, we're doing clockwise first, lifting up, out and around. Finding the biggest circle or range of motion that you can. It doesn't have to look the same as me or be. Good. And then going the opposite direction now, counterclockwise. Clockwise. I swear I know which direction is which. Just not today. Good. Let's do two more. Fantastic. Bring both feet back to the floor. We're doing a last stretch, and it's going to be an overhead reach and gently leaning to one side. Of course, if you need to hold on to something or holding onto the handlebar, that is very much available to you. And you're trying to feel a stretch a little bit in the front and on the side of your body. So you can adjust, you can open up through the hip and the armpit so that's more facing the ceiling versus closing it, which would be the opposite direction. Good. And the other side, same thing, reaching up and over. And then exploring for your body how it feels to open up through the chest or lean a little bit more to one side. Fantastic, and bringing the arm down. Now let's take a second to, again, check in with our body. Notice anything that's come up. Take a couple deep breaths, eyes open or closed, whatever you need to have that body check in. So is there any, I'll call them fuzzies. Tingling feeling coming up in your body. I have a little bit in my hip flexors. I'm just noticing, not judging. We're just checking in and seeing what's come up after those initial stretches. Anything come up for you?
I have a little bit of strain in my lower back.
Okay.
I'm sort of loosening it up a little bit. Jagging it a bit.
Curving, reflection and extension.
Rotation a little bit. Very gently. Just opening it up. Just tending to the spots that come up a little bit. Breathing into them.
Breathing into the spot. Bringing some awareness and attention to that spot, right? Okay. So next we're doing some body awareness when we're on the Alinker. So what does that look like? We're going to be separating it into core and pelvis, upper body, so shoulders, your neck, your chest and upper back, and then lower body, stepping in strides, okay? So the first one we're doing is core and pelvis. So we need to go back to that initial demo that we had at the beginning, which was sitting on the seat and you're sitting back, right? Your pelvis is tipped so that it's scooping forward versus scooping back, which would mean you're leaning forward and there's a curve in your back and probably some discomfort sitting on the seat, which we don't want. So we're sitting back into our sit bones. Our lower back is in a neutral position, so mostly straight. And we're feeling our core hopefully come alive as we're sitting here. So if you are familiar with core exercises, many times people will say brace your core or contract your core. And what that means is you're calling on the strength of the abdomen, so the muscle group, and sort of like squeezing it, right? Or if you were gonna be ready for a punch and you don't wanna be winded, right? You would sort of brace it, and so you feel some hardness in that muscle group. Or if you were to sneeze, you brace through the core. So any of those things, think about that. Whichever one resonates, everyone's different. So we're sitting on our Alinker and we're gently waking up the core. So bracing it for a couple seconds and then relaxing, finding that position, bracing it again. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lean in different directions and see how that affects our body and how it feels on the Alinker. So leaning back, you might feel your core light up, brace on its own because it doesn't want you to fall. You can hold on to the handlebars, of course, so you don't fall. We don't want that. But feeling, right, that feeling of a little bit of strength. And then coming back into your neutral position, checking with your body. How does that feel compared to that leaning back? And going back and forth, exploring that for yourself. And thinking of it as micro movements, right? You don't have to lean 10 inches back. It can be quite a small distance. Micro movements. Good. And then exploring the feeling just to see how it feels when you lean forward, right? So what comes up? Well, our core isn't working because, well, mine hands are on the handlebar. If your arms are at your side, you might feel your core working so you don't fall all the way forward. And then coming back into your neutral position. The great thing about the neutral position is that it feels like a little bit of relief when you come back to it, right? You feel like you're in the right spot. So that's how you know that you're in the right spot, in the right position on your Alinker, is when you feel that, oh, okay. A feeling of relief in your body. You take a breath. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to brace your core too much. You can stride, you can push, you can move around. And then we can explore leaning from side to side, right? How does that feel when you go from one side versus the other? One side might have more strength or discrepancies or feel different based on your body. You can do what B's doing over here, very fancy, lifting up the feet, exploring this core and body awareness with your feet off the ground, which is a lot more challenging. So again, you might feel a contraction on one side and an opening up on the other side. And then when you find that center point again with your sit bones directly on the seat is the relief. You feel that? Yeah. Okay, so that's our core. Next up is upper body. So ideally, we're sitting, our hands are on the handlebar, either the closest to us or further, depends on your comfort and your body. Your shoulders are down, away from your ears. So noticing if when you're moving through space on your Alinker, if you tend to tense your shoulders and bring them up. How can we bring body awareness and let the shoulders relax, right? Bring some shoulder circles backwards. And the third piece is opening up a little with our chest so that you're not hunching and arching your back. So that looks like that from the sides versus sitting up, shoulders back, chest open. And if that's a new position for you, it's something to be aware of going forward, right? The more mindful we are, the more awareness we can bring to our body and support our body. And so the changes might be small. You might not notice every single second, but when you do, you sit back, relax the shoulders, and find that comfortable, neutral position. And last, we're doing steps and strides. B, do you want to demo some steps and strides?
Do I?
Yeah. What does a great stride look like?
What you find in the beginning when people just get on their Alinkers is that you see often that people just do this.
Like a shuffle.
Yeah, you see that the knees still in place and they actually sort of pull themselves forward from their knees. What you want to do is integrate that whole femur stretch that we did. Really just do a full stride, because if you open up your hips and have a full stride, you also get the full benefit of what the information is that gets back to the brain. This is bad for your knees, so you really want to do a full stride. Try to challenge yourself in leaving this leg on the ground until you really can't control it anymore, and then you let go and you push with your other leg forward. Full strides.
Full strides.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a more efficient way to move, right? Like the shuffle is going to feel hard as well as be more difficult versus a stride, right?
What some people do is we call that a frog.
Okay.
Is two legs at the same time.
Mm.
And you sort of either push yourself forward or backward. Sort of rocking your body into a full
a leapfrog, yeah, you're leapfrogging, right?
Yes. And some people have one leg that is weaker. You can put it on the front and just have a full stride with one leg. When I do longer runs, like when I did that half marathon, I was never doing two legs at the same time. On a long distance, that's very challenging. So what I did is like one leg, three big steps, change the leg, do the other leg, three big steps. And then you constantly alter your upper body is constantly engaged in a different way. Everything is engaged when you do the one step. Stepping is actually really beneficial to do that. So if you have a weak leg and you feel like, yeah, I just need to get somewhere, put the weak leg up and just step. If you feel a little bit more adventurous, like, yeah, I do need to get that leg to wake up a little bit more, you put your good leg on the front and then you challenge your bad leg to do all the work. So that's kind of the movements that I've seen most used. But the frog is interesting because there's one guy in particular who does that around the block. He's just, but see what it does to your core. To go this, you have to pull. It's like rowing.
Yeah.
You constantly have your whole body engaged. So it's actually interesting if you can pull that off, if you're strong enough to do that. So you pull yourself forward and doing the big frog. And it really strengthens your whole upper core.
But you're working, it's interesting because you're working harder because like both legs have to work all the time,
Yes.
constantly.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about, you know, the demo with one leg at a time and resting and how that is almost that exact opposite of that.
Yes.
Okay.
One thing about the full stride on the Alinker, what's very important is to not tiptoe, but really try and get your whole foot on the ground and then roll off your whole foot to the ball. And that might be very challenging for some people, but that's really like, now I stretch my calf and my hamstring, and when I roll it off, what is that called? That thing in the front there, the muscle on your.
Oh, I can't remember right now.
And the other one, the things on the front get engaged because you push away. So try to roll off your whole foot. And then I roll out of the screen.
And I wonder that if anyone is struggling to extend all the way, might it be an issue with the height of their seat?
Yes.
Or the way the bike is set up? So
Well,
if they're struggling, is it too high or too low?
It depends a little bit what you have. People with MS tend to want to set the seat higher because it's hard to get this movement, to pull your leg forward. So people with MS tend to want to put the seat higher so they can sort of dangle their leg forward so they can take the next step. Other people like to sit lower so you can actually get a longer stride backwards.
Okay.
It really depends on your condition and where your strengths are.
Okay. So now we can practice our strides.
Yes.
If you have the space going forward, you know, a single stride all the way and practicing that full extension. And then you could also come back. Or going 2 to 3 strides forward if you have a little bit more room in front of you. And going backwards, is that the same movement in reverse, or there's anything else to be aware of if you need to reverse on your Alinker?
If you reverse on the Alinker, it is good to keep in mind that it is a three-wheeler. And the folding line, inside it's not a problem because it's all flat, but when you're outside and you go backwards, this is the folding line. And so going forward, you don't have, you know, it won't tip because you're going forward and you're going into two wheels. Going back, this is the folding line and it is easier to tip. So be aware that if you put it up, I don't know if you see that wheel, that wheel is about 5-6 inches up, right?
Yeah.
I'm still straight. And I'm still supported fully by the seat, even though that wheel is like 5-6 inches up. So in your mind, you're straight up. Your gravity is on how your body relates to the ground, not with the Alinker, because then you tip. So practice a little bit with that, because going backwards, it has that easier tipping point, especially when you steer. So get familiar with where that tipping point is. Like, oh yeah, there it is. Okay. So I need to, if you're
turning at the
right,
same time,
if
yeah.
you're turning at the same time, the tipping point changes a little bit. So just experiment with that. Like, oh, where am I still supported by the seat and the wheel, even if I'm turned at 4 or 5 inches up, and I'm still fully supported by the seat. But you need to have your legs on the ground for balancing.
Would you recommend, exploring or practicing stepping backwards at home in a flat area so that you can understand how the bike moves a bit more?
Yeah. I always say, like, once you get the Alinker, get comfortable with it at home, in your living room, practice a little bit. It's like, oh, there's the tipping point. I can play around. Oh, that changes a lot, actually. Oh, that changes a lot too. Start feeling, become comfortable with it at home. So once you take it outside, nothing is straight outside. Every sidewalk has a slight slope to it because the rain needs to go.
Yeah.
So, and you will find that it's like, oh, that looks flat, but it's actually not. You'll start feeling that once you go up a little slope or down a little slope. But if you're comfortable with the Alinker at home and you understand where the extremities are and where the tipping points are and where you are relating to the ground, it becomes a lot safer outside. And that's all. We don't want you to get injured. So get familiar with the Alinker, feel comfortable, know that you know it. Pump up the tires hard. These are too soft, so it actually moves too much. So pump up the tires hard and get familiar with it.
And equally, I imagine.
And yes.
Like that's something to be aware of.
Yes. Yeah, equally is good. Yeah.
Okay. How is about that? How are we good for class?
I think so, yes.
Okay. If anybody has any questions come up as they're watching or as we've been talking and discussing different things like the stride or the tipping point, you can put them in the comment section now on the live or in the video after, and we are happy to respond.
And let us know what you want to see in the next class. Next week we're doing again. This class is going to be every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Sometimes with AK and me, sometimes with AK and Molly, for example, because I'll be away the second half of April. But AK will be here, and oh, thank you, Stephanie. Anterior tibialis, that's what it's called.
Ah, yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got that. Awesome. Thank you, Laura. But yeah, let us know what kind of exercises you're interested in, what kind of classes you're interested in. We can tailor to whatever you want. And you ask, we perform. How's that?
Sure.
And if you have any technical questions, let us know. We can answer anything in those lives. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Raise that core.
Yes.
The left hip flexor is tight.
Ooh.
Oh. Be gentle with. If it's tight, just slowly gets into that. Oh, Jen is here too, watching from Disney World. Oh my God! Did you bring her later, Jen?
That's a great idea.
Right? Well, cruising in the air, she's cruising. Awesome. Do you keep sitting on my sit bones? I don't like to sit on your sit bones. I like to sit on my own sit bones because it actually activates my brain. Like after the exercise, I always feel energized because your brain gets engaged. Oh, there's a lot of people joining. Okay, no more questions? Then let us know. Show me the handlebars, please. What do you want to... that would get you in trouble. What do you want to know about the handlebars, Laura? You can put that in the comments. Show me the handlebars, please, but I don't know what you mean, Laura. So if you can let us know, how do you have them? Do you have them up or flat? Ah, okay. So that's all personal as well. What I personally like is have it a little bit more tipped than this one. So when I hold here, my wrist is actually supported by the steering. But that's a very personal thing. Some people have this when you open up those four little screws, you can rotate the whole bar. If you open up this screw, you can you can tilt the whole dog bone. They call this a dog bone. You can tilt it up, and then the whole steering gets higher. And then some people like to have it just really straight up and at this level, because that helps their core keep it straight. Letting that pass. Ambulances. Yeah, so you can adjust it as you like. Lift this up or down and rotate the whole handlebar. And as I said, if your grip is not as strong with people with MS or whatever, you have to that sort of makes your hands less, the grip less, then it might be nice to have this tilted up a little bit more so your wrists are supported. Or you lean forward and your wrists are supported like this. But it's very personal. Did that answer your question, I hope? Good. Okay, awesome. Join us next week at 3 o'clock. If you haven't signed up to the newsletter, we send them out at least once a week. And to answer all your questions, send us emails at info@thealinker.com or shop@thealinker.com. We are here in the Alinker shop in Vancouver. If you're in Vancouver or anywhere close, you can make an appointment with us to be here on Wednesday. You can join the class even if you wanted to. Wouldn't that be fun to have more people in the class join us here live? So if you're in Vancouver and have an Alinker, come and join us at 3 o'clock on Wednesdays. And
there I am.
Laura, there you are.
I'm still here.
Where did they go? But yeah, come and join us, and or come and try an Alinker. If you don't have an Alinker yet and you want to try them, we've got all 3 sizes here: the happy small, the small, and the medium. I was on the medium today. AK is on the small, and the happy small is sitting in its corner there. Yeah, come and join us. Let us know what you want us to do. Let us know what you want to know about, and we'll see you next week. Okay, have a great day. Anything last comments?
No comment. See you next time.
Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.
Okay.